Hey, what's up homies? Today I'm going to show you a way to build these quick, easy and cheap modular fences using wooden tongue depressors and wooden coffee stirrers. Okay. The bases for each of these are wooden tongue depressors. Here in Australia, I picked up these for a pack of 100 for $8 from Chemist Warehouse. I'm sure you can get them from craft stores and other hobby stores for less, and maybe even different sizes. These are 150 millimeters long by about 20 mil wide. So nice, good size for fencing. As you can see here in front of me, can be set up in a number of configurations, and you can build them how you like. You can do more than just make modular fences with them. You can make modular obstacles as well. As you can see here, I've got some hedgehogs or tank traps. Spaced out on 150 mil is a great size to stop your opponent's panzers or Shermans from getting through, but still allow infantry to run through. You can make other cool obstacles as well, things with barbed wire and such, which hopefully we'll bring out in a later video. So the tools required to make these I have here in front of me. So we have the wooden tongue depressors themselves, stack of those, coffee stirrers. Now I found these in a hobby shop, a craft store, so I could stop robbing 7-Eleven because that was the only place I could find them for a little while. So there they are there. You'll want super glue and super glue activator or accelerator because these were a nightmare to glue without it. This is wonderful stuff, although it does recommend wearing gloves, breathing, a mask and a well-ventilated area, all that sort of stuff, so it can't be good for you, but just be smart with it. Don't get it on your skin. If you do, wash it off. Don't sniff it. And we also have the Citadel Sterling Mud Technical Paint, basic paint. I'm sure there's probably other stuff out there. We could use sand or something like that, which will be a lot cheaper, but I have a couple of these on hand, so I thought might as well get through them before they go bad. Of course, we have our applicator, a scalpel or a hobby knife or an X-Acto blade, wherever you're from, and some clippers. These are just old clippers. I've got better, nicer ones. So these are doing the hard yards, clipping these coffee stirrers. So, all right, I'll reconfigure the camera and we'll get stuck into it. Okay, guys, here we are, gloved up, ready to go. So basically I do this in a couple of steps. So first, clippers and the coffee stirrer. What I like to do is just cut the ends off close to, because they're rounded, just close to, and it doesn't have to be perfect, the end. You can always trim it up later. And then we take a pen and we mark these. So this cutting mat here is gridded into centimeters. I'm sure if you're overseas, you might have inches. You can work with whatever. I've been working these to be 3 centimeters tall, which is just over an inch. It's basically an inch and a quarter, I think. So so I'll mark it at 3 centimeters. We can clip that off. You can go ahead and mark all the way up if you like, but yeah. So that's one post there. So we'll do that a couple more times to get our fence posts. So 3 centimeters, and you're gonna lose a little bit with the cut, so they're not always perfect, but that doesn't really matter. That's fine. Near enough is good enough. There's different things you can do to hide any issues or to strengthen it up if you're not too happy with it or not too convinced. But I haven't really done much play with these yet, but they feel very, very firm. So that's our 3. So I've tossed up the idea of doing these differently. So as you can see here, so this is one of the finished ones. I have the fence posts just on one side. I sort of, seen enough farm fences in my time, but I was looking at some sort of reference material, and I was contemplating having another post on the front like that. So like, I don't really know what you're going to be able to see, but yeah. Anyway, that was just a thought that I had entertained, but I'm pretty happy with how they look, just like this, you know. And I've actually used a bit of cork tile here on the corner here because I wasn't really happy with this corner, and it just to give it a bit more strength. But like, you know, I'm giving that a bit of a wiggle, and it's not going anywhere. They are rock solid. So yeah. Okay, so we've got our 3 posts. We'll need 2 more coffee stirrers. You can just clip one end off this one. That's all we did the other side anyway. So clip that one end off, and another. These will be our railings. So the fence, as you can see, the fences that I've made have had 2 rails. I do these at 15 centimeters, so which I think is like 6 inches, which is the length of the coffee stirrer. It is pretty much the entire length. You've almost got a little bit of overhang, so we take this here, just so you can see it. Sorry guys, I should be paying more attention to that. And we measure that 15 centimeters, and we cut it off there. So it's a shame, there's always a little bit of wastage, you know. There's not quite enough there to make a post, but that's fine, you know. It's like $2 for a million of these, so that's fine. I'm sure you could, if you wanted to, you could clip it and do stuff with it and make it into ruins or whatever. But I always hang on to it with my thumb because you clip it and it goes flying. Yeah, so that's our two railings there. Now I'm thinking about doing a broken fence here, not fully broken, maybe just partially, a bit like this one that we've got here. I kind of goofed up a little bit. That fence railing really should be hitting the ground, but it is hanging like that. So it looks cool, you know, like it's, and you can do a bit of weathering on the brake. If you can see that, I'm not sure about the focus on the camera, but yeah. So that's one idea there. Okay, so we take our fence posts, we separate them to 15 centimeters. Now I do them so they're on the inside of the 15. Let me do this here where you guys can see it. So we're going from the 10 line, but that's like that. So they're on the inside of the line, if you know what I mean. So there, just like that. So the absolute total length is hopefully just under 15 centimeters. We find 7.5, smack bang in the middle, or near enough to. Doesn't have to be, you know, picture perfect. Bit of glare on the old thing, but that's all right. Hopefully you guys can see. Take our super glue. So I'm using Zappa Gap medium cyano acrylic glue. It is great. I love this stuff. The only issue I have is the nozzle gets a bit claggy sometimes, so I generally tend to wipe that down with paper towel. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty good. So we'll start with the top rail. We'll do just a drop on each one, and we take our rail and we sit it like that. So what we do is we just try to line it up without moving the posts too much. That's pretty good. So it doesn't have to be perfect. We try and hold it in place just so nothing moves, and we give it a spray. So like I said earlier, this stuff recommends not to get on your skin. That's why I'm wearing gloves now. Have a window open, have the fan going, just so you're not huffing it, because it cannot be good for you. Contains petroleum apparently, so that is not good for people. And then just like that, it is done. So yeah, it's a little bit wonky, but it's not perfect. And that's dry. That is basically there. So we do it again. This time, like I said, we're gonna have a broken fence. So we'll cut it down the guts in the middle. 7.5, or near enough to. And our first one Okay, cool. So it's going to sit all right. So it's a little bit off center, but that's fine. We'll be able to have it like it's broken. Take our scalpel. Be very careful, of course, when you do this, when handling any kind of knife. I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys. And just use this just to sort of gouge out a little bit, just like it's sort of broken, it's rotted away, or you know, someone's tried to climb over it and snapped it or something. It's just a little sort of detail. Doesn't have to be amazing. Like I said, these are cheap fences. They're not the best fences, but they're going to look great on the table for any kind of game. You know, you could use them as farm fences if you're playing bolt action. Like, you know, it's a farm in France or something, or you can use them in your fantasy settings. I actually made these hopefully to start using them for ranges of Shadow Deep and 5 leagues from home. So, sorry, 5 leagues from the Borderlands. 5 parsecs from home is the sci-fi version, but yeah. So there, I've just scruffed it up a little bit. It's hard to tell, really. It's something you'll only really notice up close. But for the sake of like 30 seconds, it's not a bad thing to do, you know. So yeah. Alrighty, we'll just do the same on this one. Just give it a bit of a rough sort of thing. You can even use your clippers. Just cut off at one, like snip the corner off a little bit, or use the nose of the clippers to just take a couple of gouges out. And then there, yeah. So basically, you just got a roughed up break. Now this one we measured up to be pretty good. So I'm thinking this one is going to be the one that's still intact, and we'll make this one the hanging one. Yeah. So start with our super glue. Well, actually, you know, we'll line this back up because I like to sort of line this on a bit, just over the 1 centimeter mark, to try and keep it all center. So hold that in place. We'll just do a small dab of glue on each one. Really don't need much. I have forgotten that one is kind of shorter. So yeah, bugger it, let's just use that one. Cool, that's in place there. Near enough is good enough, you know. Doesn't have to be picture perfect. Give it a spritz. Let it do its thing, which is within seconds, really. And we'll do it again over here. This one will be sort of a bit janky. It's broken. You know what? That's pretty good like that. It's going to be hanging there. So we'll put a bit of glue towards the bottom of this post and a dab roughly where it's going to be, and we will sit it. So the funny thing is with this super glue and this material, you've actually got quite a bit of time. That's why I'm using the accelerator. I use a lot of super glue for MDF, and it dries very, very quickly. But this wood, whatever wood this is, for these coffee stirrers and tongue depressors, super glue doesn't really cooperate with. So that's why the accelerator comes in handy. So yeah, that's basically done there. That's our little janky fence. It's fine, it's cool. You know, when you've got a bunch of them, some nice ones, some janky ones, it all looks good. Add a bit of variation. And then yeah, so we take our tongue depressor. Some of them can be quite warped or bowed, like this one here. It's minor, but on the table it might be a bit, how you going? So we'll just find a straighter one. That one's pretty good. It's not too warped. Apply a generous amount of super glue to where the fence posts will be. And we apply it like that. So hold it, try and keep it as level as you can. Give it 3 spurts. I gave it 4 then because I got half my finger. Give it a couple of seconds. You can actually watch it bind. It's quite interesting. I would like to know what actually in it that makes the super glue accelerate. There we are. Bit on the lean, but it's an old farm fence. just like that. So I've done this from nothing in only a couple of minutes. So yeah, what we do now is we put our glue away, give that a bit of a wipe so it doesn't crust up too much, and we can apply our basing texture to it. So like I said earlier, I'm just using the Citadel Technical Sterling Mud with the applicator. Basically just gonna scoop this out, be quite generous, and just apply it like that. And we'll cover the whole base. If you wanted to, you could put rocks or skulls or, you know, any other bits of debris to your fence base if you like. Depends where you want to do it. This stuff is pretty good. You can generally apply a nice sort of dab of this and then push anything into it. I like to glue it down and then try and apply this around it, but it can be quite tricky and stuff when you've got some sort of fairly fine, detailed objects on the base. So do it as you like. These are only really scatter. I'm going to put some tufts and grass on there, so I'm not going to bother with any other details, but rocks, stuff like that, maybe an old sword or something leaning up against a fence, that'd be kind of cool. Depending on where you want your fences to be. I kind of want to use mine across multiple timelines, so I keep them as basic as possible. You know, like I said earlier, you could get away with having these as a fence, as a farm fence in France, or you know, something in a fantasy sort of universe as well. So yeah, basically we apply that to the whole base, and then once we have done that, we will have something like this. This has been primed black with a zenithal coat of grey cere. So just from the top down, kind of gives it that shaded. I was probably a little bit generous with the grey cere, but I don't mind it on these because of the paint that I use, which is a contrast paint. It generally, you want that grey cere. So let's paint it. We'll tidy up our workspace a little bit, and we will get our palette. So we'll start first with the contrast paint. Agaros Dunes is what I've been using on the fences. It's an interesting browny kind of colour, sandy kind of colour. I thought it was going to be lighter than what it was, but actually I was quite happy with it. So yeah, there's a real good shake, and then we'll start slapping it on. So I've only really used contrast paints in one way, which is straight out of the pot, which I believe is the intention behind them, but it's working for me. So pop our pot down, soften up our brush bristles, and we'll get stuck into it. So yeah, there's quite a few contrast paints which I have started playing with. I generally wasn't really sure on their purpose. Like, I mean, I get their purpose, right? It's to paint things quickly and easily. I wasn't really impressed with my output of minis using contrast to start with. I liked the idea of painting everything quickly, but wasn't really impressed with the end result. Whether that was my skill, probably. I'm no master painter, but I was getting better results using the old school method, right? You know, the base, the wash, the highlight, and building up layers. But I'm starting to find a place for these contrast paints. They're definitely more of a tool on the tool belt, not a one, a jack of all trades. So yeah, do something like this. We'll give it a dry brush when we're done. And as far as terrain goes, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the result that you get. We just do a generous, lather of paint over this. I'm not really being too cautious. I'm just slapping it on there as quick as I can before it all sort of starts to dry and you start pushing around half dry paint. we'll do the base separately with a different style. I'm sure you could use another contrast paint, something like Wildwood or something like that, or depending on how you want to base them. I've based all of mine so far with a sort of a darker earth, but you know, you could put these in a desert if you would like, or you know, any kind of basing. So yeah, so we're basically done here with the contrast. We'll just go over that real quickly, just make sure we didn't miss any sort of spots down by the base and on the ends here. Yeah. Cool. All right, so that is our freshly contrasted fence. We'll give that give our brush a bit of a rinse, and we'll change paints. So now we'll grab our palette. Move that aside to dry for a sec. We'll grab our wet palette. And you can see the paints I've been using recently. Here they are, and we will grab our paint. So we're going to use Rhinox hide as the base for the earth. We'll use some Xandri dust, of course, Citadel paints. All the paints we're using today, Citadel paints, and as sort of a bit of variations of in the soil. We'll wash it all down with an Agrax earth shade and dry brush it with a bit of Tyrant Skull. Might even do some sort of moss or something on the fence, and we'll use this one here, Athonian camo shade. But we'll see how we all go. That's a maybe. That's a maybe. Haven't done it yet. We'll see how it looks. So we'll give this some time to dry, and then we'll come back. Okay, cool. We're back. We've let it dry. I have also grabbed my painting handle to make things a little bit easier for us here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our Rhinox hide, give it a good shake as always. This will be our main base color for our base. So we'll take a generous scoop, put that into our palette. I like to use the texture applicator here. You could use anything though. You could even use one of these coffee stirrers if you would like. I find instead of using a brush, you know, to apply to the palette, it's just easier. You don't wreck your brushes, but I'm sure if you had a cactus brush, you could quite easily do that. So we'll take a good dollop, and we'll begin. So again, don't need to be too particular. It sort of really just depends on how you want these to look. I'm going right up to the base of the fence posts, but I'm not concerned if I happen to get a little bit of paint on those. So yeah, but we'll just we'll apply this. We'll go right over, give it a nice heavy coat, even 2 coats, but I find it covers really well. You don't have any too much problem. Sorry guys, the lighting and the angles are a little bit ordinary here. I will work on that. I'll make sure you guys get a better perspective. Yeah, all right. So we'll cover that, and we'll be back. Okay, cool. So that's our brown coat done. What we'll do now is we'll grab our Xandri dust. This is just to add a little bit of variation to the base. It's 100% not necessary, but I just like to break it up a little bit. You don't need much here, probably just, if you can see my palette there, that is probably plenty. So yeah, we'll just sort of, scatter this around, try and blend it a little bit with the brown, and yeah, just like I said, to just give it a bit of variation. I do it very messily. I'm really not concerned. It's going to look like hot garbage now, but it's just a little very subtle thing that you'll notice later on once you've washed it all down and put your grass and tufts on there. Yeah, just different soils, different grades. Might be a sandy patch, or you know, clay or something. So yeah, just like that. Like I said, looks ordinary, but just a little detail. So we'll rinse our brush out for the last time, and we will grab our Agrax Earthshade. So we just want to make sure this dries fully. The brown was quite heavy, so it's still a little bit wet. So we'll come back when that's dry, and we'll hit it with the Agrax Earthshade. Okay, so our base coat is pretty much dry. We will take our Agrax Earthshade and we just lather it on. Like I'm talking heavy. So this is at least the way I do it. So just dunk your brush in there and just start splotching it on. So I like to do a really heavy wash. You could use any brown wash or black wash or sepia, whatever you like, whatever works with your base, your color scheme. You could even make your own, you know, just by watering down a brown paint. And yeah, so we'll just hit that real hard. I like to go sort of especially heavy over where we've done the Xandri dust. That way it kind of blends that in a little bit more. And yeah, and I'm not even really brushing this around. I'm just sort of dabbing it on. So it's a very heavy wash. So you can see that there. That is saturated. Yeah. So just go over a couple of spots that you might have missed, and we let it dry. So now we'll let that dry. You can do a couple of things. You could do a bit of gardening if you like. You make a cup of tea or a coffee, or you could work on more of these, which is probably the smart way to go. I would line these up and do half dozen at a time. That way you've got an assembly line, and hopefully by the time you're up to the same step, the first one is dry and ready to go. So we'll be back. Okay, cool, we're back. Our wash is finally dried. We are ready to hit it with a dry brush. So we are going to hit it all over. We're going to dry brush this Tyrant Skull or Citadel over everything. The base, the fence, you name it. It's kind of a very heavy dry brush. I don't know if if you would call it an overbrush, but it's halfway between. So you can be as messy as you want here. I'm really not too phased. I hope the camera can pick it up. It is quite subtle, I guess, but it does just makes a lot of difference. So it actually picks up the natural wood grains in these coffee stirrers, which is kind of cool. Something that I haven't quite figured out how to really replicate well. So I'm glad that there is that detail on them. So just hit that side. We'll flip it. This side has some kind of like some staining from my sloppy contrast. So I might hit this side maybe a little bit harder just to try to knock that down a little bit. Again, you know, not really concerned about how neat and how tidy it looks. Again, you know, we're going for quick, easy, and these are especially cheap. You know, if I was to try to figure out how much it was per fence, it's going to be in the realm of like a couple of bucks, if that. So, if that, you know, like if you include the texture paints and everything, it might be like $2 a fence or something like that, which is just an absolute bargain. You know, you get 10 of these done for $20, you're laughing, absolutely laughing. So, yeah, just a heavy, very heavy dry brush on that. And that's what we're left with. So it is quite nice, you know, just for a quick little thing. So now that we've done that, we will hit it with our grass tufts and our static grass. So I'm not using a static grass applicator or anything. We are just using some of these tubs from Gale Force 9, I believe they are. Again, like it was like, I think this was like $7 or something, and that is just it's a ton of static grass. We've got some bushes here. These are actually woodlands. Is it Woodland Scenics, I think? And I've just used a couple of empty Gale Force 9 tubs, which are great. Like, picked up the two of those for like $4, which is, you know, very, very handy. And we've got tufts. So we've got red flowers, purple flowers, and then a couple of different grass tufts. I love tufts, man. I got like just an absolute stack of them. Yeah, I just think they're neat. So static grass I generally do last. We'll start with our PVA glue here and our PVA palette, which is just a plastic bag, which is fine because, you know, the glue dries, you peel it off, and you're back to a fresh palette again. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll grab our crappy old brush here, which is for PVA only, and it's actually, surprisingly, it's still in pretty good nick. We'll start with the corners. I'm going to start with the bushes first. So I like the look of them climbing up the fence. So I'm going to put some like that, and then, you know, quite a bit around the base. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll do another one sort of here in the middle-ish, and yeah, that'll be for our bushes there. So we'll grab those here. I do like this lighter green better, but I think it is good to mix it up with the dark green. I just think it adds that little bit more realism to it. You know, like varying colors, different bushes are growing. This sort of stuff, it like just comes in chunks, so you can just pull it apart. I'm a big fan, and you know, again, like the bag itself is about $15, but it is going to go a very long way. I've done a few of these now and barely even used it. So just dab that in there like that. Stick it on. We'll find a smaller piece to go on that rail there. Chunks are just going everywhere, but it's all good. It's all good. There's that. Just a cool little extra detail, you know? Yeah, I love it. I think it looks sick. So that's there. We'll do a bit of this green over here. And also a bit of the other green. You know, just a bit of variation like that. And we'll go just... You know what? We won't. We'll put a flower tuft there. So we'll put those aside. Go our next lot of tufts. I like to put these down with super glue. These, most of these, bear with me, I'm trying to remember where they're from. I can't remember. Oh, Gamer's Grass, I'm sure. Yeah, I've got a bunch of them. But they're kind of interesting because, you know, it's like you can find them one week and then the next week they're hard to find again. So I just buy different ones all the time, which is fine, you know. All right, we'll grab another one here. I like this one. It's a nice heavy. I think it's like 12 mil, so it's quite long. We'll push that in there. We'll grab our knife just to get that very sharp edge pushed down like that. And then you can kind of like comb it out a little bit to make it look a little bit more messy. And you've got one there. So, yeah. All right, we'll do that a few times and then we're pretty much done. So, we'll skip over to our next lot of tufts. These ones are more uniform, which is, you need to be careful because nature doesn't grow, you know, nothing's uniform in nature. Everything is sort of quite chaos and sporadic. So these I sort of just do in moderation. I'm I'm sure like you could do a nice line of them if you were doing like a garden bed or something like that. I think that would be great. You know, but yeah. So we'll do that. We'll drop another one. Just there again. Sorry guys of the angle. I definitely will work on my my camera etiquette there. And well, I mean, that was nearly there. We'll just try and slide it over. Nope, it's staying there. That's fine. That's fine. That's kind of where we wanted it anyway. So another tuft, and you can really use as much or as little of these as you want. I just think it just adds a whole another layer to you know the realism and that of these little fences. So got a dab there. Now the the flower tufts are quite delicate. I like to use the flat end of the applicator to try and like scoop them off this paper that they come on, because if you pinch them, you sort of squash the flowers a little bit, and it's sort of it's a bit of a delicate process, I find. So we'll try and grab that and stick it there. Cool. Okay, we got that. Hope the focus is alright. The camera's sort of just doing its own thing. There's our purple flower tuft there. So, I mean, in theory, you really could just leave it like that. Grass doesn't really tend to grow too much under fences. But we'll put some grass down, some static grass down. So grab our PVA again and just do this however you please. You can do chunks, you can do the whole lot. We'll just do sort of patches of grass. We'll try and keep it as random as we can. You might be able to see now, like, the slight variations from where we did that Xandri dust and gave it a really heavy wash. It's very subtle at this point, but it's kind of the effect that we wanted. So, yeah. Again, the camera's not really doing these justice, but yeah, they're quick, they're easy. You can make a whole bunch of these like in a day. I think the other day I made about 8 of them in total, in sort of half a day. Now we just grab this and just pinch it on, just dab it. We probably could take our gloves off by now, but that's fine. We once it's all done, you actually will tap off any excess, blow it off, whatever you want to do. Okay. Can be quite messy, and you do lose a bit of your grass doing this. So I don't know if you wanted to put a tray down or something to try and catch any dregs. Not much, just a little bit. Tap it off into the container. Tap it off at an angle to try and catch more of the glue. Cool. There we are. So that's that. That's our tufts there. Our static grass. Just apply it in patches, and your end result is basically this. Once it's all dried and you've cleaned off any extra, yeah, quick, easy, not bad. They didn't really warp. I was sort of concerned that they might warp, but these are nice and flat and straight. So yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, see you in a sec. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you followed along nice and well, and you've built yourself a whole bunch of fences. Keep an eye out for more of these kinds of videos. First, sort of in the line for us here at Hobby Homies, but something we want to do, create more content for you guys, which we hope you enjoy. If you haven't seen, we are a podcast releasing episodes every Sunday. We cover all aspects of the tabletop gaming hobby, covering different games as well. We have monthly live episodes, giveaways, a Discord community, which you are more than welcome to join. You can find links for everything on hobbyhomies.com or all across our socials. So Thanks again, and we'll see you soon. Hooroo.
Woo! Big up to the boys, Fox and Shane. Set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love, roll the dice. 50-50, we cold as ice. One thing cold, but a pretty tongue red. Hey! Deck, in my head, war gaming.